Any commitments firmed up? What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, it was really exciting. We met with Dr. Hoskins, Minister Hoskins from Health and Long-Term Care. I viewed that as one of our the best meetings we had out of the whole conference. That's me personally. We talked about all the social issues. We talked about shelter house, the alcohol use and abuse in the city. We talked about a cardiovascular unit for the Thunder Bay Regional Hospital and all good things that the hospital are doing in Thunder Bay. And Minister Hoskins committed to coming up to Thunder Bay and meeting with us and viewing this firsthand, which is a great commitment. He gets it. We talked about mining readiness again and what it means to our city, and we talked about the Aboriginal communities who are choosing Thunder Bay as their home. And we have a huge urban Aboriginal community here in Thunder Bay, but some of the people that are coming down are lost souls, and we need to take care of those people, and it's affecting our crime rates, it's affecting our hospital, our police, EMS, fire service in a real taxing way. We talked about money for people off reserve and funding in those areas. There was a $80 million fund set aside, which we can garner funds from, but not enough. We wouldn't get a great share of that. So they're looking at those issues as well. I think that was real good. I'll let Joe pick up as intergovernmental chair on that one, but we told him that we're in a crisis situation, we need help. The cardiovascular unit, he gets that. As a doctor, he really got that, and he's all in support of that. The Thunder Bay Regional Hospital are doing a presentation to the ministry, and so we're just picking up and supporting that. We're the highest amputee rate in Ontario because we don't have cardiovascular surgeons, and that is a piece that's really missing out of our hospitals. So Brian or Joe, if you want to pick up on that piece.
Yeah, just to reiterate what the mayor has been saying about Minister Hoskins, we were very pleased with the reception. As soon as we walked in, well, I know all you guys. I know what your needs are. I know Thunder Bay is doing some great things up there, and you certainly have our support. And you want to come up to Thunder Bay and take a look at things. And of course, we invited him to do so. The health issues are, as the mayor said, are very dear and important to us. However, all the other issues that we talked about, mining readiness, the energy, we're still pushing for the conversion of our generating plant here. We talked, it said that the needs are there for energy, and we're pushing that. We also talked specifically about the event center, and people there are excited about that. Moving forward, we hope that funding will come from the province and also Northern Ontario Heritage Fund. Mr. Comissa, myself, and a couple of others, we toured the Budweiser Center in London. It was amazing center, 10,000 seats, and they mentioned to us that. Since that center has been in London, there were concerns like we have here, concerns for parking, concerns for assessments and whatnot, but we were informed that since the center was put there in downtown London, and they feel that was the best location is the downtown, that commercial assessment in that area has gone up by $500 million in relation to well, maybe not. I think $500,000. Sorry, 500 million is a bit high. But the two towers.
It was 500 million.
500 million.
Yeah.
2 towers were built. Businesses are coming in, and they have no issues in relation to parking. What they said was they wish they had built it bigger in relation to some of the amenities that they need. The services that the mayor mentioned in health. Tourism. Minister Couteau, Minister of Tourism. Wants to come up and see what we're doing. He's quite excited about the center that we talked about. We talked to Minister Duguid's people and reinforcing what the needs were in Thunder Bay, the infrastructure, the energy. We were very happy with the reception, and they felt like they get it. They really do, and we emphasize that. What we do here is not only for Thunder Bay, but it's also for the region, and quite pleased. Councillor McKinnon.
Well, you covered most of the stuff, I'm not going to repeat it, but a couple of specific things that we really focused on, for example, just across the street, Shelter House, the SOS program. We told them how critical that was to our homeless people. We talked about homelessness a lot, actually. And a couple of the ministers, I think, were nodding their heads and saying, that's something we may have to address very specifically. And we did talk about the specific needs of Shelter House, where they have approached council for a request for $500,000. Even though that's not particularly our responsibility, we said, okay, we'll do our part, but the province has to step in. So that was a critical step that 2 or 3 of the ministers, they got it. And I don't think they were aware of the numbers that we were talking about. The mayor already indicated the number of Aboriginals who come into the city who are sort of lost souls because they come from a small community into a large community. So that was an area that we put a lot of emphasis on. And I think it's going to pay dividends. And 2 of the ministers at least, and a third I think was nodding, they're going to come up and they are going to say, okay, what can we do to help? They in fact said that right there. So
Now, does this turn in, I mean, it's one thing to have support and nods around the table, but is there funding available, or the programs to actually tackle this?
We, in Lumco, which is Large Urban Mayors Caucus of Ontario, I'm a member of that, Thunder Bay is a member of that, and I represent Thunder Bay at that meeting. And Minister McKinnon from Housing, Municipal Affairs and Housing was present. We talked about homelessness. I asked a specific question, first of all, about Aboriginal people coming from the north and being homeless, and incidents of crime happening around that. He did his master's on homelessness, and he gets it, and he's going to be working on a strategy, and we're going to have input on that strategy. So the province are looking at a homelessness strategy and funding attached to that. So that was very encouraging. So I came at him 3 times, came at him at Lumco, and then again with the Thunder Bay delegation, and then NOMA. I sit on the NOMA board, so we also talked to him about that. So I got 3 different meetings with, by the time it was all over, he was saying, we gotta quit meeting like this. So we hammered and hammered away at it, and they gave us a commitment that we're gonna have some good news soon as municipalities on this issue. So we're waiting for that, but we've offered any assistance we can with that strategy, because we do have a poverty reduction strategy in Thunder Bay, but it's not taking off. We need the help of the ministry to get that to take off.
And now, is there, it always comes back, and the poverty reduction strategy says it too, that affordable housing is, the most important step. So is this a sign to you that the province is finally willing to commit to affordable housing on a municipal level?
I believe that's going to happen. Minister McMeekin said we're going to be announcing something soon that's going to make municipalities very happy. We did get the infrastructure announcement while we were down there, and Thunder Bay is probably going to be the beneficiary of $2 to $3 million a year, every year, for infrastructure, which helps with our roads and our bridges, and the water works, work on our sewers and mains that are so vital. After the flood, we realized the work that we need to do in that regard. So those funds are really going to help offset tax increases to work on that infrastructure. So it's pretty good news in that regard as well.
That's the $100 million that Minister Glenn Murray announced last year or the year before for the North, and we qualify, as the mayor said. I just want to add that our 2 MPPs, the 2 ministers here in Thunder Bay, Minister Morrow and Minister Gravel, certainly support what we do. In fact, Minister Gravel mentioned that the event center is an infrastructure piece, and that it's a provincial piece because it will service the region. And Minister Morrow, they tell us that they're just like 2 pit bulls for the North, and it's great that we have those 2 ministers here, and I think we will certainly benefit from it.
Are we going to see these ministers come up to sort of take the tour before the October election, you figure?
I think we need to push for that. We're going to push Minister Hoskins' office, definitely. We have run this by him at OGRA in February as well, and he said I have to get up there, so we're going to make him commit to that. I want to do a tour with him and our intergovernmental affairs and walk him around the city get them to have a first-hand look at the conditions and what we're talking about. So we do have to address this issue.
Keith, you said the city's in a crisis situation, needs help. Can you elaborate on that?
I just think the funding piece for sure. I mean, we're getting asked by Shelter House to come to the party for another $500,000, and we think these are healthcare issues, and that's the province's domain. Yes, we do our part. The SOS program we've supported, alcohol management program we've supported with funding. And there comes a time where the municipality is taxed, and we are taxed right now. So we need the province's help on healthcare issues financially, and the moral support as well. And we need those programs like homelessness, strategies. So
It seems to expand from there. Talking with the Confederation College President Matter, they're trying to get more resident space because they've got such a shortage of housing in the city that, especially bringing in international students, they're not going to live in a basement apartment. Their parents aren't going to pay the money they're paying for schooling. So the city's looking at this now, is there funding or opportunity from the province as well?
I think so. I've met with President Matter on this issue at least 3 or 4 times, and I'm very supportive where that is going to be coming to City Council in a closed session meeting, first of all, because this is a land issue. But there are incentives, I think, that we can offer as a municipality to Confederation College to help that program get off the ground. And I think it's not only is it good to attract international students, but that's an economic driver. Confederation College contributes $500 million to our GDP, and those are huge money, huge dollars, and if we can attract more international students. So we are working on that piece, and the government is also working on that piece.
Now, in our downtown cores, here in the Fort William side, recently it looks like there's been an expanded police presence, which is helping. A lot of what the police are dealing with, though, doesn't seem to be policing issues. It's more of a social worker role. What can be done better in Thunder Bay, and what message can the province hear from us?
Well, I think, and Joe can probably talk about that as the chair of the Police Services Board, but I think I've really pushed for zone policing, and I moved back to that neighborhood-style policing. And I'm glad that Chief Levesque has moved us back to the zone policing model, where officers are assigned to an area. They know the area, they know the people in that area. That was a huge move forward as far as I'm concerned. But we do need, Shelter House, for example, they've been asked now to medically assess people before they're taken to the hospital. Police need social workers, nurses working with them. And that funding has to be in place from the province for sure, because they're doing work above and beyond what they're sworn to do and what they're trained to do. We need social workers working with them. We need nurses working with them. But I'm going to let Joe, as the chair of the board, talk about that one.
In relation to police services and the service that we provide for the community, the board's position and the chief's position would be that we provide the resources where they are required. As you know, the environment in cities changes from time to time, and you have to readjust your resources, the way you do things, to address the issues of the day. So one particular area of the city needs resources. Those resources are deployed there. The zone policing that is coming forward is a good thing. It will be a team of police officers in a zone, in a community. People will recognize them. They will know who's who and where. So this is a positive step forward. However, again, from time to time, as circumstances changes and different areas change in relation to the need for policing, those resources would be dispatched where the need is required. And we're quite proud of our service.
The $500,000 for SOS that Shelter House is asking for, so are you guys sort of uploading that ask to the province?
Well, it's going to come to City Council this September, I believe it is, September. And I'm very supportive of it. However, like Regen Med, we supported Regen Med, and now the province has picked it up, and they've really shown that they're making good progress. It's the same as this program. We don't mind kickstarting these programs, but we don't believe that we should be the core funders of these programs. So I'm hoping that we support that initiative, and then the province picks it up. And that happens quite a bit with initiatives that we've started in the past, where we've started it, the government has picked up the funding.
One example of that we pushed, and the mayor really pushed out at AMO, was that our Safe Homes program. When we had the flood, the city didn't wait. We didn't wait to to fix people's homes and get them furnaces and stuff that they needed. That came out of our coffers, $4.2 million, and the province came, as the mayor says, came to the party and supported that. So we reinforced that over and over again with Minister McKinnon and others, that should be part and parcel of a program, the ODRAP program that they have in place. That where there is a health issue, where people have sewage in their basements and could cause difficulties, like, get it done, and we did, and we're hoping that the government will take that on and make that part of the program.
Yeah, so that was one of our asks as well, that be incorporated into the ODRAP program. Glad you mentioned that. And they were very, they said you did what you had to do. We took a chance of doing it because it wasn't within the ODRAP regulations, but it was one of those decisions you have to make. Sometimes fly by the seat of your pants, but it worked out, and all was good. That flood, I maintain we handled that great.
And the mayor's correct in relation to the SOS program, that we did mention on many occasions. This is not a city, it's a city issue because it's in the city. However, it's a health issue, and they need to take a look at that as a health issue. And how are we going to say no to a program such as that? Because by saying no, it could mean someone freezing on the street. And that's all I need to say about that.
Just MPAC, we did do a presentation on MPAC, and the issues surrounding, I'm not going to talk about the Resolute issue because that is before a hearing, but we're talking about tax ratios and how now big box stores are looking at that model approach. And so it's not just industry, it's going to be a huge problem, and it's going to erode the tax base of municipalities. And I think they're starting to get it now. When we mentioned about somebody living in a 4-bedroom home and their family moves out and they're only using 1 bedroom, if you use that model approach to a residential, it's going to be chaos in the province. So they get it. We met with the Minister of Finance on that one, and we've also met with Municipal Affairs and Housing. So they are addressing that. There is a report on that, on the MPAC issue. We like some of the recommendations, but it still has to be toughened up. Yes, Mr. Murray.
CN Bridge.
Yeah.
Any discussion at the meetings on that?
No, we didn't discuss that with the government. I think that's a private company that doesn't want to repair a bridge, but we did talk about the need for infrastructure and possibly a new bridge. I met with actually a private company this morning, and I think that's where that has to go in the long run. We're looking at the short-term legal ramifications, but my opinion would be, maybe a P3 partnership or something on that for New Bridge eventually.
Well, the federal government out in the Okanagan has just announced funding for a bridge
In Penticton.
in Penticton. Now, where are they in the discussions for Thunder Bay and James Street Bridge?
I think the feds would have to come to the party for a new bridge for sure, connecting Fort William First Nation with Thunder Bay. Again, we're still doing our study internally on the legal ramifications, 1905-1906 agreement. We're hoping for that to come back to council soon, and we'll go from there.
And one more thing, we did not forget our Bombardier situation. We did mention that at the table from time to time that we do have a situation here in Thunder Bay, the 900 employees at Bombardier. The government might want to take a look at that.
I also met with Mayor Rob Ford in Toronto and discussed that very issue because I know he's a big proponent of subway, and he wasn't even aware that we made the light rail vehicles for Toronto. So gave him a bit of an education on that, and we had a half-an-hour meeting. It was good. It was impromptu, but I was able to discuss that. Talked about the strike, and he's hoping it's resolved soon because it's affecting Toronto. But also met with the Chinese consulate general on the Friday previous to AMO. Talked about the Ring of Fire, talked about that infrastructure. We talked about the dissolving pulp duty, 15% duty on dissolving pulp, which is affecting Terrace Bay Mill from starting up. So we don't just take Thunder Bay issues, we take regional issues, and we're working on a regional concept, that what happens in the region affects Thunder Bay, and what happens in Thunder Bay affects the region. So we brought regional issues as well to the fore.
One thing that we did talk about on 2 or 3 occasions was the alternative level of care in the hospital, with the gridlock and all of the beds that are taken up by ALC patients. And, we thank them for the money that they did give us, the $14 million, to assuage some of that issue. But we hammered the whole fact of we've got to do something on a more permanent basis. So I think a couple of ministers, again, said, we'll do something about that, essentially is what they said. And that will really help our hospital dramatically. And that sort of worked in with the cardiovascular program that we're talking about, which is a $30 million program. And Hoskins is on side with that. He wasn't aware of this. When I told him that we did not have one vascular surgeon in the hospital, and we are the trauma center for 300,000 people, he just shook his head.
Is it surprising that he didn't know that? I mean, Mr. Morrow's been hammering away at that issue for a decade.
No, I'm not suggesting that it's surprising, but I don't think, he said, I thought you guys had a couple, and I said, yeah, we did, but one of them retired and one of them unfortunately died, yeah. Well, what do you do? And nobody replaced it because they don't have the facility. So that's what it came down to.
And you got the connectivity between the homeless situation, the drug and alcohol use, and code gridlock, and how it affects the ALC, because the ALC beds that we don't have are tied up at the hospital. So it's all interconnected, and he gets that. So it was good that way. He's a brave man.
Yeah, that's why he's going to come up. Definitely, he promised. So.
Thank the media for being here, and it was very worthwhile. And it's
Thanks,
always
Jim.
good to have our presence in Toronto, no one with government.
I'm tired.